Good afternoon. Welcome back to another episode of Great Man Profits for the intermediate learners, and today we're talking about the pros and cons to utilizing a funded account. So let's get into it. First thing that you will see is, unfortunately, while there are more cons than pros at the moment, the pros outweigh the cons exponentially. So let's go into it. First of all, why would you need a funded account? Well, to generate the capital that you don't have. So, cheap capital. In other words, potential lot size increase, meaning that you can trade more or leverage more. And of course, limited drawdown. Worst case scenario, you lose your account. So with often these funded accounts, depending on which one you go for, let's say, for example, the 25,000, your limit for that day will be 4% drawdown or 12% all in all that you can lose before your account is shut down. In other words, you have $1,000 worth of movement that you can allow within one day. This allows you that if you're having a terrible day or if you have a terrible week, the worst thing that happens is you are going to lose your account and you could buy a new one. In other words, if you were doing this in your live account and you had a terrible week, that means that you're down multiple thousands of dollars. So let's get back into the cons. The cons is, of course, it costs money to receive one. So if you do fail your challenge or your funded account, then of course you have to pay more money to re-enter. But otherwise, this doesn't outweigh the pro. So this con is very, very small. Then you have, of course, frustrating challenges, max payouts, and it is slightly rigged. You have to understand that the reason that they set out these challenges where you have to go, okay, you have to trade within a certain amount of days, you have to generate a certain percentage, and you have a limited amount of leverage that you can do it with. This, on top of the max payouts, mean that they set the rules to reduce the probability that you are going to win. The entire reason that this industry exists is because a lot of people lose money rather than make it. But if you've got the skills to utilize it, you might as well, because all it does is if you have the knowledge, you're not worrying about winning or losing because you already know if you're going to win. You already know your knowledge. All it is it goes, okay, the next big problem is capital. If you want to make $500 a day, okay, that means that you bet $100 and you hope for a 500 pip move. Or if you have 10,000, you hope for a 5 pip move. That's the difference. That is all the difference is. Okay, with that, I hope you have a lovely evening and thank you for watching the video.